for me to be here tonight at the institute named after the man who gave Ronald Reagan his start is an extraordinary moment for me and for Mary Pat in our lives, and your being here honors us greatly. My state treasurer came to me and said, "Some news on that $500 million surplus." He said, "It's a $2.2 billion deficit. And we have 5 months to fix it." We scoured the budget and we impounded $2.2 billion in projected spending and signed an executive order to do so. And the great thing about executive orders is I signed it in my office and I didn't tell anybody, because that's the great thing about executive orders. You got to tell them when you want to. And so I asked the legislature to have an opportunity to give a speech before a joint session. I'd only been in office about 3 weeks at this point. They said, what's it about? And I said, it's about our budget situation in fiscal year 10. And so I came before the state legislature, and my speech was relatively short. I said, here's the deal. John Corzine told me I had a $500 million surplus. He lied. You all created this mess. I just fixed it. Have a nice day. And I left. The pension fund in the state of New Jersey is currently $46 billion underfunded. And we've made those kind of proposals that would, in fact, in 10 years, cut the deficit in half and put us on a glide path towards balancing that pension problem. I went to the New Jersey Firefighters Convention. 7,500 firefighters in Wildwood, New Jersey. Yes, Wildwood, pun intended. And I went there that day and I came onto the stage in front of 7,500 firefighters, and not all of them were booing, but a good percentage of them were. And when they finally worked themselves through it, this was my message that day to the firefighters. I said, understand you're angry. And I understand you feel betrayed. And I understand that you're worried and you feel threatened and you feel unappreciated. And I understand you feeling all those ways, but here's the thing. For 20 years, governors have come to this convention every September, and they've lied to you. And they promised you benefits that they had no understanding of how they were going to pay for. And they told you not to worry, that they were going to take care of you. Now, understand why you're angry, but here's what I don't understand. Why are you booing the first guy who's come in here and told you the truth? And the truth is that if we don't work together to fix this problem now, our pension system will be broke by 2020. And when I was done, they were cheering. And when I walked out, they mobbed me and said, "Thank you, Governor, for telling us the truth." Mr. Coppola, the head of the Bergen County Education Association, put out an email urging members to pray for my death. People say, why don't you meet with the president of the Teachers Union, Governor? Why don't you meet and sit down and talk with her? I have. After that email was sent out, she put out an official apology and called the office to speak to me about it. And I said, well, she's just across the street. So I said to my chief of staff, why don't you welcome her over? She can apologize in person. So I invited her over. She came into the office, and I sat down at my desk, and she sat across from me, and we both looked at each other. And I said, well. And she said, yes. And I said, I'm returning your call. This is my return of your call. What do you have to say? I said, oh, well, Governor, I obviously we think that what was said was inappropriate, and we apologize. And I said, well, thank you. That's very nice. I appreciate that. I said, you're going to fire him, right? She said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, one of your guys sent an email praying for me to die. Like, that certainly is a fireable offense, right? I said, well, he doesn't directly work for me. He's voted in by his members. I said, all right, and we're going to play that game. Okay. Certainly you're going to call upon him to resign. And she said, no, I'm not. I said, see, this is what I don't understand about you people. I said, if my chief of staff, who was sitting in the chair next door, I said, if he had sent out that email praying for your death, there would have been 5,000 teachers on the front steps of the State House screaming and yelling for him to be fired, and you would have been too late, because I would have already fired him. And I stood up and said, good day. He said, well, we have important issues to discuss of education in New Jersey. I said, not with me, you don't. I said, you can come and talk to me when he's out of his job and not 1 minute before. At this point, temperatures got a little bit higher, and there was a little additional yelling back and forth that probably would be inappropriate for me to detail here. My chief of staff is a wonderful guy, former state legislator, former senior executive at the Pfizer Corporation, and a very low-key, understated guy. He had quite never seen anything like this before. And so when she finally says, I won't be spoken to that way, good day, and she goes to leave, my poor chief of staff doesn't know what to do at this point. And he says, thanks oh so much for coming by. This is what the Goldwater Institute is here to fight against. And that's why I'm here from New Jersey tonight. This thinking that says if you want a future with less public debt for your children to have to pay for, that means you don't care about the future. It is time to return to the principles that Ronald Reagan so clearly expressed for us and that Barry Goldwater expressed for us as well.